Hello, friends. How are we today? Good afternoon. Hi. Welcome in. Welcome in. Miss Shirlene, I saw your name pop up. How are you? How's everyone doing? How's your summer going? Have a little chat and story time today. Good morning. It just hit 12 o'clock here, but it's good morning for you. It's still early there. So I've been really thinking about this a lot and how I wanted to share all of this. I'm sure you have seen that my videos and posts have... Oh, Charlene, I'm so sorry to hear that. My prayers and thoughts are with you. I'm sure that you have seen that my posts, my videos have kind of, slightly taken a turn because they've been more of acknowledging and recognizing some scenarios and things that you may be able to kind of parallel or mirror to your own life or situations around you and connect people with the videos. And so today I want to take the opportunity to kind of tell you my life, the background of what got me here to where I am. And I've been talking with one of my life greatest friends and kind of just about how to get on here and what I wanted to share. And, she reminds me over and over, you lived your story, you know your story. And so my obligation, my job, my purpose is to share it from a place, from a healed place, from a perspective place, from, not from an ugly or vulgar kind of place. Hello. Welcome in. So I would say, as I sit back and think of the details of all of this and being able to talk about it more matter-of-factly than just this is what I do or this is what I wouldn't do, or, more of the actual steps that I took, the recognition and acknowledgement in my own journey, and share that, and people can resonate or not resonate. So back in, I would say 2011, 2012, I was still living in New Jersey at the time. And I had been married at that point, I want to say 7 years. So now, depending on whether it was 2011 or 2012, I either had 2 of my 3 kids or my youngest was a baby. My youngest is now 15. And my oldest is 21, so crazy. But back then, they would have been, my oldest would have been 7 or 8, depending, or 2012, so 7 or 8 would have been my oldest. And then my middle would have been 4 or 5 back then. And my youngest, either I was expecting him or he was a baby at this point. Oh, okay. And so what happened was I can actually literally see myself sitting on this particular couch we had in our old house in this, we had like a formal living room and then like a family room. And so I was sitting on this couch by myself, just kind of taking a moment to breathe. And I was reading, somebody had sent me a blog journal, a blog post. I may have come upon it by myself, but if memory serves, somebody sent me this blog post. And it was by a publication called Elephant's Journal. I remember that very well. And I don't even know if Elephant's Journal still exists as a publication. But the title of this blog post was The Narcissist and the Empath. And I began to read this, and it was very, it was an easy read, you know, kept my attention. But what was wild is that, you know, you have moments in your life, you have situations in your life, everybody does, where you just remember it. Like, it's when they say, I can remember exactly where I was and what I was doing. This is like this was the moment for me where all the fireworks, all the bells started going off for me. And I read this article about the narcissist and the empath, and all the bells started going off for me. And I all I could remember thinking is like, oh my God, this is my life. And not, you know, back then didn't really have anyone to turn to or talk to, because the thing is, when you're in a relationship, and now that relationship does not have to be a romantic relationship. It can be a parent. It can be a sibling. It can be a neighbor. It can be what you think is a best friend. It can be just relationship. It doesn't have to be like a partnership. But when you're in that dynamic, it's what I have always called like the silent abuse. It's the silent, because I wasn't being physically beaten. I wasn't, you know, being physically harmed. But I was being emotionally and verbally abused. And I didn't have awareness of it at that point. The other reason I say it's a silent abuse is like no one talks. I mean, we talk about it now. Social media has changed a lot, you know, but back then there was it's not like it was broadcasted on TV. It's not like, you know, your parents were openly talking about it. You may have witnessed it in your family. You may have witnessed it within a friend, but it's not like you're running to the police department and making, you know, claims or bringing up charges, because it's not that kind of, it wasn't that kind of recognized abuse. And so I read this article, and all the bells went off in my head. And it was talking about, I remember it talking about energetic vampire, and how the narcissist will, because of the kindness, because of the softness and the generosity of the empathic person, they suck the life out of them, is basically what this article talked about. And God, I wish, you know, in hindsight, if I had known then what I knew now, of course I would have saved it. But obviously I don't have it anymore. But it made a profound impact on me, and was the catalyst to change my life years later. Sometimes we are programmed to believe it's normal. I think that's part of our generational trauma that we are breaking, which is also much more prevalently talked about now than it was 10, 20 plus years ago, is what is generational trauma, breaking that cycle. Like, that was not talked about. So I think we are programmed, because generations before us, it's just, you know, this is how I was raised, is what you heard from your parents. Like, this is how I was raised. And then I think that with my generation anyway, I feel like it was like, I'm going to do different things than my parents did. I want to raise my kids differently. It was way more common to say than when we were growing up, right? I mean, we've all heard the stories of like, oh, I walked to school both ways through rain and snow, uphill both ways. And just for the record, I did walk to school both ways. My mother actually never drove and never had a car, and my father went to work every day, and he worked an hour away. So like, we literally did walk. And I lived about, at least from the high school, I lived, I think, just over 2 miles. Thank you, Aaliyah. So this article really got my brain and my gears going. And like I said, I had never heard the word narcissistic before this. I had no idea what a narcissist was. I was barely familiar with what an empath was. But this article, this blog post resonated so deeply with me. Obviously, here I am, 16 years later, and I still remember it vividly. And thinking, this is my life. Now, how do I change it? So in my life, it had gotten to the point where, my toxic relationship with my ex was verbal and emotional. And now I can't say that it wasn't ever physical, but I would say like he never threw a punch at me, or it was nothing ever like that. So I will say that. But that doesn't mean they can't be. Mine just wasn't that specific. There were a couple instances where things definitely escalated and got heated, and I'll talk about those at some point, but it was more of my spirit that he was slowly chipping away at and breaking. Intentionally. That's the other thing. It's intentionally. Every day. He was very, and I'm saying a lot, so I apologize for that. He was very condescending. Very condescending. He was very, everything and everyone was beneath him, which is kind of funny because, to backtrack a little bit, I have actually known my ex, I'll say that safely, my ex, since we were small children. We're talking like preschool age. I don't know that the details of how and all that are important, but I've known him since preschool age. And he didn't live in the same town as me, but the next town over. And he was very charming. He was very good looking. Very, I was going to say social, but that's not really true. It was pretend. It was very pretend, because the truth is he's really, truly like a major homebody. But he knew how to put on a good show. And we started dating. So we knew each other since children. And I saw him a lot kind of growing up because his family was friends with my neighbor, and their daughter was my age. And so in my neighborhood growing up, there was a lot of kids. And back then, Gen X, we truly did stay outside all day long. We lived in a safe neighborhood. We were outside from, sun up till parents called it sundown, go inside for dinner, whatever. And he would come over there to their house a lot. And so, but back then when we were children, boys were still yucky, right? And fast forward, at 19 years old, I was out with two girlfriends, and we had stopped at 7-Eleven. His car was parked out there, and so the story goes, this was back like literally when cell phones first came out. That's how long ago this dates back. But he had stopped because his cell phone had died. And he had like one of those Motorola flip, like we say, like the Zach Morris cell phones, the big pull out the antenna things. I feel like I'm definitely dating myself here. His phone had died, so he was there to use the payphone to call his friend. And I recognized him, not at first, not for who he, like knowing that I'd known this guy my whole life, but I recognized him because he had dated a friend of mine in high school. And hello everyone. He had dated a friend of mine in high school, and I went up to his car, his Jeep window. He had a Jeep Cherokee, Grand Cherokee. I went up to his car window, and he, looked at me like I was crazy. And I said to him, like, oh my God, I know you. And he said, at this point, it had triggered my memory of where I really knew him from. And I said to him, I know you. And he was like, how do you know me? So I said, your parents' names, and I named them. I said, your parents are. And he truly, he truly looked at me like, who the hell are you? And needless to say, my friend that had been with me in the car thought he was very cute and everything, and she wanted his number. And he gave it to her. I mean, gave it to us, but he gave it to her. Fast forward, I don't know if it was a day or two, we had been, these same two friends and I had been trying to contact him to see if we all wanted to like meet up and hang out. You know, we were 19. And I told him, I said, my friend likes you. Well, it turns out that he wasn't interested in her, but he had been interested in me. And of course, again, at this point, I'm just looking at this tall guy who was attractive, and we were teenagers, and, you know, we hung out a lot for a long time. Fast forward, it was great for the first, 6 months. This is all the way back in 1996, okay? It was actually this time, 1996, it was August. Fast forward, we became official at some point. And the first year was great, And then it was like the whole college thing. Now, I had gotten into Monmouth University, where I went to school. And they had two kind of divisions at this college. There was like I don't know how to really explain it. There was the college, but then they had this other school that you could attend this school and then kind of merge into the college. And he had gotten into that, but not into the university part. So he opted to go to county school for the first, I want to say, year or 2 years. And then he transferred into the university. So he wound up going to the same school as me as well. He wound up joining a fraternity, and that was the first time we really started to see problems. So we'd been together about 2 years at this point. I was very naive to a lot of things, and we had actually dealt with a number of situations going against us in this relationship. He had this ex-girlfriend who followed us all over the county, would threaten things. She would show up at my house. She would show up at his house. She was texting him when I was with him, or not texting. We had pagers back then. So she would like page him with like certain numerical codes and things, trying to start fights and stuff. We had gone through a lot. So his fraternity brothers had really started to drive into him that he was at this point 21 and just joined this fraternity in this college, and that he should really be single and be playing and doing what he wants to do, the young single fraternity boy life. Well, they drove into him enough that we wound up splitting up. Now, this was like a week after I had actually hydroplaned a car on the New Jersey Parkway and flipped the car. I rolled the car on the highway. I was fine. The car was completely totaled. Hi, Scott! And so he waited because that happened, but then about a week later, as my memory goes, we split up. And he started dating, only come to find out that he had already been kind of dating, but he started dating around on campus, and we were on the same campus, so like I would see it. It got messy. Oh, thank you. It got messy, and then one day, this is the first instance that I knew, or that I can recognize now in hindsight, what I was totally naive to back then. So there was a rumor started on the campus that I had been dating one of his fraternity brothers, which wasn't true. And he went and drank, essentially, I think it was a pint, but I don't know. He was not a, like, he's really a beer drinker. But he drank this massive quantity of vodka, and he flipped out when he heard that I was allegedly dating this guy that was in his fraternity, which wasn't true. What's interesting about that is the specific person he thought I was dating in his fraternity is gay and was dating somebody at the time. But for some reason, this is the rumor that flew around. Well, he calls me, I want to say at like 5 o'clock in the morning, he calls me. And of course, my heart lunges because we hadn't spoken. You know, in a couple of weeks. And come to find out that he was drunk and flipping out that he thought I was dating this person. And he had punched a hole in the wall in his dorm room. And just being like, my stupid teenage brain back then kind of went, oh my God, you know, he's jealous over me, and he must really care if this is the way he's reacting over news that he heard that isn't even true. But again, as I say in hindsight, that's that control piece. Like he could go out and do what he wanted to do, and all I could do is be heartbroken about it. But my allegedly going out and doing something was absolutely a no-no. Now, we had been apart about, I want to say 8 weeks total, 6 to 8 weeks total. We get back together. It was still kind of, college was not the most fun experience with him. I did not live on campus. He lived on campus. That was another thing. I was living down at school. I was a live-in nanny. He was living on campus with fraternity brothers in the dorm rooms. Fast forward, we both graduate. I graduated a year before him. And now at this point, we're together about 3 years. 3 years, I think. We get into jobs. We both get into jobs. And things are just really weird. I don't know. I noticed again that things were awkward. And again, it was this tug and pull. And I didn't notice, I didn't know any of this. This was way prior to my ever finding this article. So, so many things I should have known then that I know now. We dated for 7 years. 7 years we dated until I finally literally said to him one day, like, is this going to happen or not? I literally said, shit or get off the pot. Like, I'm ready at this point. If we're not going anywhere, like, I am ready to just be done with it and say goodbye. And he didn't like that either. So next thing you know, he this was in the summer of 2002. He gets a ring. He has one made, and he gets a ring. And in the most grandiose way possible, because that's the way the story goes if you're in a toxic relationship, he proposes on Thanksgiving in front of his whole family. Now, I should also preface this with, he is an only child and an only nephew. Like, there was no cousins, and he was an only grandchild. So he was very much a silver spoon boy. To this day, he's very much a silver spoon boy. Most grandiose way possible, dropped to, big show in front of his family at Thanksgiving. We had a 1.5 year engagement. That was my doing, but we had a 1.5 year engagement. Now, mind you, we got married in 2004 and had never had any kind of incidences or oopsies, if we're all catching my drift. There was no babies or anything prior. And suddenly here we are married, and 4 months later, I find out I'm expecting my oldest. Another key indicator for me was the day that I told him that I was expecting. He was playing fantasy football on the computer, and I came home after taking 5 tests at my mother's house. My mother's no longer here. She's been gone 18 years now. And I had gone to her. My mother was ecstatic. She was over the moon, but I was petrified to tell him all these signs that I should have known and thought of. But at that point, I didn't know anything. I didn't even know this existed. I just, he was the boy and I was the girl kind of thing. He's playing fantasy football on the computer, and I told him I had to tell him something. And he was like I interrupted him, and he was like, what? So put out. So, so disturbed. And I remember standing in the doorway of the guest bedroom because that's where the computer was, in our townhouse, and telling him that I was pregnant. And he said, you're lying. And I said, very pissed off is the right word now. I wasn't even going to say, I was going to say shocked, but no, he was annoyed. He truly was annoyed. I tell him I'm pregnant. We're married at this point, 4 months. At this point, we're together 8 years, almost nine years at this point. We got together in 96. It's now 2004. Hello to everyone joining. Say hello when you're jumping in. And the first thing he says to me, gosh, there were so many signs if I had known what I know now. The first thing he says to me when I tell him that I'm pregnant, he says, first of all, he says, you're lying. And I said, no, I'm not. I said, I am absolutely sure. I took 5 tests. I took 5 tests at my mom's house. And then he tells me that I trapped him. Tells me I trapped him. And I couldn't have been more shocked. I said, I trapped you. And he says, I said, how did I trap you? You're married. You're married. How did I trap you? Were you planning on taking off? Is there a key piece to this that I'm on? Did I miss something? So yes, I trapped him. That was how the announcement to my first daughter went. Pregnancy was easy for me. It wasn't. I really didn't have. I had no morning sickness or any kinds of things like that. So. Life basically carried on as it normally did every day. The power struggles, there were definitely, in hindsight now, looking back, the power struggles were definitely there, but I was oblivious. I was very naive. So we lived in a townhouse at that point. Fast forward. Oh, my mom had also, 8 weeks before we got married, back in March of 2004, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And upon her diagnosis, she was given less than a 5% chance of survival. She did make it for 4.5 more years. So she lived to not only meet that daughter, but the next daughter as well, who she got to name. So he really liked my mom for whatever reason. I will say, the expression, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Growing up as a boy, Italian, and an only child, you can imagine. I don't need to finish any more of that. So fast forward 2 years, and my mom wasn't doing well at all. And so we had kind of decided to try to conceive again, to give my mom something to hold on to, you know, prayers and thoughts. And so we conceived, we announced on Christmas that we were expecting a second baby, and it was my second daughter. We had to move at that point because we were only in a 2-bedroom townhouse and it wasn't huge. So we moved to the house when we left New Jersey. We lived in that house 9 years before we moved here to North Carolina. He was a little more excited and understanding upon the second baby announcement. However, he, you know, all I can say is I'm not sure that he ever really wanted children. He wanted to be the center of attention, and if there's a new baby, he's no longer the baby. Yes, he was a grown-ass adult, but that's the mindset that goes on. You're no longer the silver spoon child when you now have a child of your own. So we have the second baby. She's now 19, and my mother had the honor of naming her because she died when my second daughter was only 5 months old. My mother passed away. My mother passed away 1 week to the day after my 31st birthday. He made it very clear and known that he was very stressed. Like he just couldn't, he was not, when my oldest daughter was little, he used to say to me, oh my God, when is she going to learn to walk? When is she going to learn to talk? Like rush through all the stages that you're supposed to love and adore. And I loved every single stage, although I definitely love them being adults now. I've loved every stage. But he very much was like, everything was just an inconvenience to him. It was constantly the energy. Yeah, we're constantly walking on eggshells because everything pissed him off. Dinner was too early. Dinner was too late. The laundry wasn't picked up. The dishes weren't done. Whatever the minute chore that wasn't done yet, like irritated him. Anything would irritate him. I used to literally tell him all the time, you would be pissed off if there was nothing to be pissed off about. That's what you'd be pissed off about, that there is nothing to be pissed off about. Grasping at straws. And he would tell me constantly, like, you could lick my floors, they were so clean. And he would tell me what a mess the house was all the time. Clutter this, or you haven't done this, whatever the case was. So you can imagine, throw 2 babies into that mix. Now the oldest was 2.5. She was just over 2. My girls are 27 months apart. So she was literally just over 2 when the new baby came. He was very put out by the whole thing. And his also, in addition, the reactions from my parents were like, over the moon, there's a baby coming. They get to be grandparents, over the moon. My kids are actually their second and third grandchild, but like over the moon, excited. His parents' reaction was like, sarcastically, they were like, brilliant, you guys, because it didn't follow a 2-year plan and all of this. That was literally his father's words, were brilliant, you guys. Brilliant, you two. So fast forward, we moved to the big house. I mean, big house. It was over 2,000 square feet, but double the size of what we had. And he was just a constant ball of stress over everything. And it was all just supposed to be, his parents would say things like, oh, he's just, he's got a lot going on at work, or he's just got a lot on his mind, and he's just a dick. he's just a jerk. There's no excuse to really treat people, especially your partner and children, and say the things that you do, and people are just supposed to take it and accept it because this is just the way he is. No. And again, like I've done a lot of healing and shadow work and journeying to get where I am today. Back then I was a puddle of tears and confused and hurt and angry, and everything rolled into one. So, I can remember an instance we were fighting, and you know, when you talk to my oldest daughter now, she will tell you things that I didn't know, that she would hear us fighting and she would go hide in the laundry basket in we had like a linen closet in our hallway with like the sliding doors in the hallway, and she would go and hide in the laundry basket and slide the linen closet doors closed so that we didn't know she was there listening. So I remember one night in this house in New Jersey, we were arguing about something, and my grandmother had passed when I was in 8th grade. And one of the things that had been left for me was this like Mikasa, really pretty crystal, genuine crystal bowl. Maybe it was Waterford. It might have been Waterford. That's not relevant. Anyways, we're fighting one night, and I'm in the kitchen, and he picks up this bowl. We're fighting, and you can see, I don't know if you can see, there's a door frame right here. So like, see where that corner is up there? Anyway, he picks up this bowl and hucks it right at the door frame above my head, that it shatters like confetti all like above my head. I mean, it didn't hit, like the bowl itself didn't hit me, but like rained crystal all the way down to the floor. I was devastated. Couldn't replace it. My grandmother was gone. You know, this was an antique, and my grandmother had been gone since I was, what is that? 8th grade is what, like 13 years old? Here I am, 30. I might have been 30 at this point. I got married at 27, so 29, 30 years old, something like that. Maybe a little bit older than that. There was no replacing it. Sentimentally, couldn't replace it anyway. So that was one instance. And then the gaslighting would begin, which again, at this point, I had no idea this was a thing. This was prior to my finding the blog. Smash this thing to a million pieces. And then the words, as I'm crying and bawling my eyes out. And he's like, oh my God, get over it. It's just a glass bowl. It's no big deal. Like, we have other things. Totally missing the point, right? And he says, you know, if you hadn't said or done, I would never have done that. If you hadn't said or done, I would never have done that. Any of you resonate with that? I was left to clean the whole thing up. He had no remorse, no acknowledgement. And hi, welcome in. It was just like gone. It just, as if it never happened. There was nothing there from him. Obviously, it's just one of those instances you never forget. So then there came a time where I wanted to be home with the kids. And especially when my oldest was born. And he had said, back when it was just the one, he had said, you know, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. Do what you got to do. And I, when I went out on maternity leave 4 weeks early, my oldest daughter was actually born, at 36 weeks on the nose. She was perfectly fine. We didn't have like natal, you know, no NICU or anything like that. And I was a mess because I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to leave her in strangers' hands. I had been the preschool teacher who was taking care of people's babies all day, every day. And so, now I had found, I wanted to work from home. I wanted to figure it out. I had taken kids into my house. I was doing in-house daycare. I was doing all of those kinds of things. He was annoyed. I mean, happy about the cash, but like annoyed because, you know, there was never not children there, and that annoyed him too. There were double the kids there. You know, like I said, he probably, in hindsight, never wanted to really, he wanted to be the only child in his 30s. So no matter how much money I made, no matter how much I did around the house, no matter how much I took care of things, made sure things were done, made sure things were taken care of and everything, it was never enough. He was always stressed out. There was always gaslighting. There was always something going on, always something happening. And it was always never his fault. It's anybody's fault but his own. So I was really, truly looking for a way to work from home. And at this point, we're looking at probably 2009, 10, something like that. I had begun a journey it was 2007, I want to say. I had begun a journey into looking into network marketing. And I was excited about it because I was like, I can do this. I can talk to people. I can sell. I can do this. And I told him I had found this, and I brought him the information. And there was no support. There was no like, give your dream a try. There was nothing like that. In fact, he printed out, as I recollect all the things he used to do to me, he went and printed out 40 complaint notices, letters, whatever, about this company, how it was a scam and it didn't work for them and this, that, and the other. I mean, he went and printed a stack of paper of 40 of these things and slammed them down on the kitchen table to tell me what a scam this company and opportunity was. Now, mind you, that company is still around. They're like 45 years old or something. They're still around. Some of you have probably heard of them. I still actually have people ask me every now and then if I want to buy stuff from them. Anyway, he prints out all of these scam things and to belittle me and tell me how stupid I am and how worthless that is, and to get a real job. So can we everybody tap that screen for me? 2.9, let's get that up. So I decide to take a homeowner's rebate that we had, and I joined it anyway. He wasn't happy to find out that I did that, but I did it anyway. And I had to fight like hell to prove myself, to myself and to him. But when that first little check came, I remember him mowing the lawn and the mail truck coming and getting it out of the mail. And I was so excited. It was like $26. But I was so excited because to me, it was proof of concept. I could stay home. I could be with my babies. I could make this all work. That's where my healthy mindset was going. He, of course, immediately jumps into, what the hell are you going to do with $26 and quit this crap and get a real job and just right back down again, beat me right back down. Anytime I needed to go to a store or run errands or anything like that, I'd take the kids with me or make sure that he was going to be home and aware. I literally had to ask him, are you going to be home? If I leave, can I leave one of the kids with you? Can I leave all of the kids with you? Can we do that? Crazy to think about now, right? Crazy to think about now. But that's very much how it was. I had what he considered, that was my job. That was my job. I was the mom. It's my job to take care of them. It's my job to look after them. It was my job. He didn't know how to cook. He didn't know how to do any of those things. That was my job. The only thing he truly did was take care of himself. He did his own laundry, took care of himself. That's what he would do. But he expected, dinner every night at a certain time. We rarely went out. We never went on dates after any of this. We never had babies. I can count on one hand how many times in the total of 16 years technically married, 13 of those before we separated. I could count on one hand how many times we went on a date after all of this. So yes, I had to ask not permission to go run errands, but I wasn't to do them unless I took kids. Or asked him if he was going to be home. And then I got into this concept of wanting to date my kids, spend time individually with them, because there's 3 of them now, and they never got specific one-on-one time, especially when I was still taking kids in on care. And so one day I remember my oldest daughter and I, we were having a day, and we decided, we lived about an hour from the beach. And we decided, since it was our day and we were allowed to go do what we wanted to do, we decided to jump in the car and go do that. He was livid that and she still has this memory too. He was livid that we would take off and go to the beach and do something like hit the boardwalk without him. That I would leave the other 2 kids. Not even so much that he didn't come, but it was that I would leave the other 2 kids. I would not take them and include them in her day, that I left them with him just to go off and have fun and have a day off and do our thing. Livid. And texting me the nastiest things, calling me up, over and over and over, screaming and yelling, and how he was going to get revenge with me. He was going to get revenge that I took my oldest daughter on this little day date with mom. That he was going to get back at me for it. Like I said, as these things flood into me now, back then didn't know any better. Now, we daily walk clients through these things. We daily walk men and women. Primarily we have women, but men and women we walk through. Signs of narcissistic and toxic abuse in relationships all around them, whether it's somebody they need help with or it's for themselves. We recognize the signs. But back then, this was my story. This is how things went through. And for those of you that are on here, if you don't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Inner Power Collective. Make sure you go and subscribe over there. We put out lots of videos and instances and training and all kinds of things for you over there. So that was another incident. And then there was an incident where all these things come flooding back to me. We were fighting again one night, and we were at the top of the staircase. This was still in the New Jersey house as well, top of the staircase. And he gets mad at me about something. He had a fossil watch in his hands, one of the stainless steel fossil watches. And he throws it like this. And I'm standing like 1 foot down on one step and still standing on the top step, like getting ready to go down. And he takes this watch and he throws it like this. He threw it so hard that it smashed over my knee. Like opened, like broke the stainless steel watch, smash. I had a bruise and lump on my knee for a solid month after that. And again, that would never have happened if I hadn't X, Y, and Z. If I hadn't, he would never have done that. It wasn't as bad as I make it out to be. Although I will tell you that voluntarily 2 of my 3 kids are still in therapy. Old enough to make their own decisions and still in therapy because of how much all of this has affected them. My youngest doesn't remember much. He has kind of pushed it so far down and deep that he doesn't remember much. So it's not good either. It definitely affects his short-term memory, and he has to work twice as hard in school and things. So I then, like I said, 2011, I'm sitting there on the couch and I find this article, and it wasn't an article, it was a blog post in a publication called The Elephant's Journal. You're welcome to look up and see if that publication even still exists, but it was The Narcissist and the Empath. And I found, somebody sent it to me. I'm pretty sure somebody sent it to me. So I read this thing and I am just absolutely blown away about how much this was my life how much I mean, the bells just constantly like were going off on me, reading about this energetic vampire and how this works and how they say things and how they do things, and gaslighting was the first time I heard about gaslighting. And AI summary is saying, sharing her story of overcoming toxic abuse. Comment here if you need support. That's what the AI summary is. So I read this article and just everything started going off. And it would be another 5 years though before I truly the plan of action. Obviously, if I had known everything now, what I know now back then, this whole plan of action would have taken months, not years. But I didn't know anything about any of this when I started discovering and researching and digging into all of this. I didn't know anything about, breaking toxic cycles. I didn't know anything about like generational, toxic generational cycles. I didn't know anything about shadow work. I didn't know anything about, I barely knew about self-love as a concept. I didn't know, anything about emotional intelligence or going gray rock. So this article was where I discovered going gray rock. And so how many of you that are on here know what going gray rock is, have ever heard the terminology going gray rock? Is that familiar with any of you? Let me know in the comments if you've ever heard that term. Okay, so going gray rock is, it's basically going stoic. So when somebody is attacking you or coming at your character, or they're, all the points that they know would upset you the most, or the things that they know they can get onto your skin about, small manipulative, emotionally manipulative things that they can do to try to get under your skin. And you, instead of giving them the satisfaction, instead of getting upset, instead of arguing, raising your voice, fighting back, you become stoic, okay? You don't give them the energy, that energetic vampire. You are not giving them the energy, the satisfaction, which is what that is literally what they're looking for. And I used to say that to my ex too, that you get such joy and satisfaction out of making other people upset and miserable. And I would say, like, not only would I say that, but I'd say, I will never understand how you making someone else miserable makes you happy. This is before I knew all of the healing things that I went through. Like, I don't understand how you upsetting someone or making them miserable, like, it gets you off. I don't understand that. And like I said, I would tell him, like, you would be miserable and unhappy. You'd be pissed off if there was nothing to be pissed off about. That's what you'd be pissed off about. So I find this term about going gray rock. And going gray rock is basically taking your energy back, not giving them the satisfaction of a reaction, not giving them the satisfaction of taking, your stance from you. It's learning to begin to have boundaries with people. It's emotional intelligence. Are you familiar? You're familiar with emotional intelligence, and I'm sure you're familiar with emotional regulation. This is the beginning stages of that. So he would come at me and he would, if I was listening to a song, if I had the radio on and I'm listening to a song, he would come along and say, take the lyrics of whatever the song is, and he would change all of the lyrics in the song to making fun of me in some way. He would sit there and sing these songs and lyrics to upset me and make fun of me. And of course that would upset me too, Then would come, I began to try to do some personal development work, like reading John Maxwell or, any Jim Rohn, any of the greats. Like I was in network marketing at this point, and I was doing my damnedest to keep positive, because, you surround yourself with these people who are hopeful, and they're encouraging to you, and they believe in you, and they support each other, and they build each other up. And this community of people I had found in network marketing, in a sense, I can say that helped save me as well, because I was surrounding myself with like-minded individuals who also had dreams and beliefs, and were looking to bring in extra money, and we're looking to change careers, and we're looking for friendships and connections. And I'm still friends with some of these people to this day. I have a very good friend who lives in Florida, who I've been friends with since, I would say 2000s. I mean, we've been friends like close to 20 years now. And it all began there. And so the more I surrounded myself in this environment of network marketing and stuff, the more I kind of grew stronger too. It opened my eyes more. I would tell a good friend, like, this is the rotten things he would say to me. He got mad at me because, I cleaned the whole house. I had dinner made. I washed all the floors, everything. I did all the laundry, but I didn't get to put the laundry away. And so when he came home from work, he didn't remark that the whole house was spotless. He didn't remark that, like, the kids were taken care of, that dinner was ready, that everything else was done. He went straight for the fact that there was 5 loads of laundry sitting on the bed that hadn't been folded and put away yet. He went straight for the fact, but it's not good enough because this is still here. And you didn't squeeze this into the day on top of working your business, taking care of the kids, cooking dinner, cleaning the whole house. You didn't, but you didn't get this done. And if I had the laundry done and folded and dinner and all the other things, but you didn't do the dishes. Why is the sink full of dishes? Gosh, I have to do everything around here. I constantly have to pick up after you. That's what I would get. It was never enough. It was never the right thing. If I wanted to run to the grocery store, like I said earlier in this, if I wanted to run and do errands and take care of things, I either had to take them with me or ask him if he was going to be home. Do you care if I leave one of the 3 of them with you while I go? How long are you going to be? Where do you have to go? What do you need to get? How much money are you going to spend? Do you have gas in the car? You're going to go get gas in the car? It was not, let me make sure you're taken care of, ever. There was no partneristic attributes like that with him, ever. It was more of a making fun of all the things that I lacked on, always. And if I was... Sorry, I have that puzzle piece thing that's popping up here because there's no comments coming through, so it doesn't think we're active. If I was... God forbid I was late. Oh my gosh, if I was late, he'd be blowing my phone up, nastiest text messages. And I slowly began to realize just how toxic and unhealthy this whole relationship was, more and more. I read that article. At this point, we had divided out finances already. We are active, right? I mean, that's what it's like. Is anybody here? We had divided out finances, and he wanted to keep his paycheck, is what he told me, that he was going to be in charge of and keeping his paycheck. And so I had to pay for utilities and things like that, the phones and the utilities, and I had to pay for half the groceries every month. And he took care of the mortgage and the car payment, which, mind you, I didn't realize till many years later. I was not on the mortgage or the deed to the house. So if he had ever called it quits, or I had to, so all of this to say that eventually, when I finally broke away a few years after this, I had to literally rebuild from nothing because I didn't have the credit. I didn't have any of, like, I had none of it because he had put all of these things in his name to make sure that he was safe and secure. So the cars that we had that we leased were in his name. The mortgage on the house and everything was in his name. So he had the credit to everything. I had nothing because I was naive and just trusting in what allegedly we were building as a family, but it was all, smoke and mirrors. So I got into personal development, and I would read these books, and I would sit in the bed. I would, God forbid, I stayed in the bed a little bit later on a Saturday or a Sunday. I would hear him in audible tone to the children. He would say, all right, let's go. It's 9 a.m., whatever. Let's go see if I can't motivate your mother to get off her ass and do something today. I'm going to go motivate your mother to get off her ass and do something today. And I'd be, reading personal development. He'd be like, oh my God, what kind of garbage are you filling yourself with now? Right? What the hell are we reading now? And he would make fun of the book. Or if I was journaling thoughts and things down, if I was journaling, he would come in the room and he would say, dear diary, I hate my husband. And then he would go, ha ha ha, and he would laugh. And he would, come on, Christine, get off your ass and let's go do something. And he would walk out of the room. Or he would start to slam things down and attempt to half-ass clean a bathroom or something in an attempt to get me to come in and do it the right way. Because I would feel bad that he was doing what he perceived my job to be. So trying to get me moving, he would go in and half-ass do things. So I'd have to come in and do it after him to clean up what he was doing. That went on for years. So there was lots of covert narcissism going on through the whole thing. And then the terms really started to click with me. And fast forward, this went on for years, broke the watch, broke the bowl, lots of name calling. Anytime he would say things specifically derogatory or in a condescending, sarcastic tone, he would say things. And I would, get upset and my eyes, and I would say to him all the time, you are so mean to us. Why are you so mean? I don't understand why you're so mean all the time. Literally I would say mean, not even cursing at him. I would say, you're so mean. I don't understand why you're always so mean. And if I got upset, he would say, oh, boo-hoo-hoo. Look at Christine. She's crying again. Boo-hoo-hoo. Oh, look, Christine's in tears again. I mean, you can't rattle me now anymore. But I truly felt like there was no help, no hope, no help, because it was this silent abuse until I started opening up to my, I don't even know what made me start doing this, to be honest with you, but my best friend in New Jersey at the time, really opening up to her about what was going on. And she was sharing a very similar experience on her end. And that's when I began to not feel quite so alone. Even though I was still learning about it and navigating my way, not feeling quite so alone. And that's when I started saying this is really a silent abuse, because, my at this point, my mom was gone. She never met my son. And my dad just never got... His parents knew what was going on. And they would kind of be like, oh, come on, stop. Not to me, but to him, knock it off. Would you just be nice? Would you just this? Would you just that? But they were equally as bad. When we were out in public or with friends or doing something, if we had company over, he was Mr. Charming. And he had his best face forward, and everyone thought he was, you know, adorable and charming and, you know, all of those things. He's just the best. He's so helpful. He's so this. And I'm over here like, are we talking about the same person? Because he would get home and that mask would fall, and you honestly just never knew if Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde was walking through the door. I remember one day, dinner time, he walks in. I'm literally doing the dishes, making sure they're picked up. The kids are in the family room. We had a half wall, so like the kitchen overlooked the family room with a half wall. The kids are in there playing. They're toddlers, all of them at this point. He walks in. This is still in New Jersey. He has his trench coat and his suit on for work. And he comes in through the garage door. Anytime we heard for years, anytime we heard a garage door, we would jump. And he just starts kicking toys out of his way, stomping on his way through to the kitchen, going, where the hell's the mail? Like, just started flipping through. No hello to anybody. No how was anybody's day. No hugs, kisses for anything. Just storming Norman on through to the kitchen, kicking crap out of his way to go right straight to the mail pile. And I'm just staring at him like, well, hello to you too. You've been through that yourself. I'm sorry. There is help though. We have help. If you are not a part of and you would like if you're seeking a community of support, first of all, first thing I would say is make sure you go on over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button. If you're not already part of that, go hit the subscribe button at YouTube. It is the Inner Power Collective. You can find us over there. We also have a community of support available for you, and you can find that on School. That is SKOOL. It is a free app that you can download, and the community is called the Inner Power Collective as well. There's lots of one-on-one support, lots of trainings. There's lots of tools and help that you would get in there, one-on-one support, direction, whatever it is that we can help you do to break your cycles, to get through, to boost you up, to empower you. That's the name of the game over here. And the whole reason the Inner Power Collective was started was for people just like yourself and I who had no resources and no help and no support and had no idea what the hell they were dealing with at the time. So the Inner Power Collective has been founded by myself, and all of the empowerment, all of the tools, resources, and support that you could possibly need you will find in the Inner Power Collective with firsthand experience. If you're looking for some one-on-one coaching, you can certainly send me a DM and we can discuss one-on-one coaching packages. But there are 2 levels of support for you over in the Inner Power Collective. And again, you can find that on the free app on School. And we would love for you to come and join us and get you all the things in life that you are looking for and deserving of. Hi, Aaliyah. So, yeah, he comes coming through the house and he's kicking all the toys around, and I'm just staring at him in utter disbelief, like, what is your problem? And he just, he kind of was in this, like, if I snap things on demand, they should be ready. And he was like king of the castle, kind of is, your past relationship affects the relationship you have today. We heal from our past. We shift through those things. We do the shadow work so that you don't bring your past traumas into your current relationships. We definitely work on all those things and shift and grow who we are as an individual, so that we don't keep repeating those cycles. Okay, so fast forward to 2015. I had a reading done. I am an intuitive myself, but I did not read myself. I had a reading done in 2015 with someone who is a channeler, and this specific reading was done with Archangel Metatron. Sorry for that interruption there. I needed a sip of water. It was done with Archangel Metatron, who is the highest of archangels, and she is a direct channeler. full body channel, like you would see in the movie Ghost. Yeah, how many of you seen Ghost? Where that's one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. And in this reading, she told me that in my future that he wasn't the tower and the devil came out. And she had told me that because I had been talking for years about moving to North Carolina since, like, my mom was still alive. I had been talking about it. My mom died in 2008, so I'd been talking about this for years. And she said, you're meant to be in North Carolina, and that you were going to help thousands of women heal from similar things. Now, here we are with the Inner Power Collective and the YouTube channel, all under the same name, the Inner Power Collective. You can find our videos and resources and tips and everything across the channels, from IG to the Book of Faces. YouTube has full videos and shorts. Of course, you find everything here as well. You can find them across the board. You can find us and all of those things. So she said I was going to help thousands of women, and it would be extremely successful, and it would, that was really my aim. That's my goal. That's my purpose, so that other people don't have to live through the same trauma and things that I have lived through, or I can help them get out earlier, or I can help them figure out how to shift or live with what they've got, meet them where they are and help them rise up and heal from the position that they're in. And so the other thing she had said was that I would be moving to North Carolina and I would be divorced. So in August 12th, which is tomorrow, which actually, for those of you who believe, the eclipse portal actually opens tomorrow, and tomorrow marks exactly 10 years. Tomorrow marks exactly 10 years ago that I've moved to North Carolina. And the end of this month would be 9 years ago that my ex and I separated. So we moved here in 2016. And then we tried and stuck it out for one more year. And then we separated the end of the month in August 31st. I told him I had had enough, and we had one more big fight. And here, and I'm gonna get more into all of that tomorrow. We'll get more into part 2 when we moved to North Carolina. Here, I'll get into from 2017 forward. I'll get into tomorrow. But we had moved here, and we stuck it out for one more year, and trying, but I will tell you, like, even upon first moving here, he had to spend probably another month in New Jersey. He was going back and forth because we were still selling the house, and he was still at that job. He hadn't found a job here yet to be able to resign from the other position, and so he would go back and forth, but he would text me 250 times a day. I'm not joking. 250 times. So suspicious of me, like weird stuff, thinking I had other men in the house with the kids there, and that, like, I just had this new life. I was moving on without him, and I got to the point where I was screenshotting everything that was coming in, and I had created an email account that I was sending all these screenshots to. And I had told one of my brothers that if anything were to happen to me, he had the name of the email, and he was the only other person on this earth that had the password for this email. And I literally said to him, if anything, because that's how crazy these texts and things were getting. If anything were to happen to me, here's your proof. This is what's happened. This is where it's happened, who's done it. And he was the only person that had access to that email, that even knew it existed, because my ex went loco for a solid, I mean, even more so, like, but just saying, like, wiling out, and to the point that I was actually not just mentally afraid and feeling berated and beaten down by him, but I was afraid. I was genuinely afraid at this point. he was always angry and he was always yelling, and it didn't take very much to piss him off. And he would scream, myself, the kids. My youngest was only 5 when we moved here, to the point where he was like as red as a tomato, screaming at people like in their face. Like, it was very ugly. And so I had sent my brother this email address and password to get in, where he could find all these screenshots and text messages as things as proof if anything were to happen to me. Now, tomorrow I will get into from the move here to North Carolina in 2016 to current, and we'll get into not just the recognition pieces of how we went from something so I was unaware of to full-blown recognition, and actually had begun calling him a narcissist. And one thing I will say about a narcissist is they love to flip things around. And so if there would come time where I would say something, or I'd give something back, I'd say something back to him, like give it right back to him, and he would say, "Oh, you're such a narcissist." Okay. So I armed myself with knowledge, and I worked on going gray rock, and I worked on putting a plan together, and I worked on really mentally preparing myself, preparing the kids to the best I could without them being like, "Hey, Dad, this is what's going to happen and where we're going." But I really just began to give myself a community, find the right people, make the right connections, join the right things for myself, an outreach for myself. So similar to what we now have with the Inner Power Collective, I did for myself, gathered resources, started implementing resources, got a real plan of action together, and began implementing it. And like I said, I'll get into all those things tomorrow. We are coming upon an hour and a half here, so I want to respect this for everybody. And if you have any questions, any comments, concerns, feel free to direct message me. You can find all the links up in my bio to the YouTube channel, which is at the Inner Power Collective on YouTube. You obviously free to subscribe there. You can find all of the links to join us in the Inner Power Collective on School. School is also a free app. You can find me on the Book of Faces. You can find me on IG. You can find me on Threads. I have Substack, but there's not much put on Substack yet, but you can find me on Substack. You can find me in all the places, and please do, and feel free to reach out and direct message me on any of them if you are looking for support, if you're looking for resources, guidance, if you're just looking for an ear and a shoulder in confidence. I am also here for you. So I look forward to hearing from you. And know that I get it. I understand. I know when that mask goes up and when that mask comes down. And I know, the gaslighting, and I know, trying to destroy your character with communal friends, telling different stories than what really happened to try to wreck your character and turn people away from you, making things up. Like, I get it. I've been through all of it, and even more since then I've been through things, but community and awareness, acknowledgement, recognition, and getting in and doing the work, and really formulating those boundaries, working on your emotional intelligence, doing that shadow work, which is a bitch, but the most healing thing, learning about self-love, learning about self-trust, and that emotional regulation, all key pieces that will completely transform your life, completely. And we're here for you. And that's what the Inner Power Collective was designed and built for all of you. Again, I invite you to shoot me a DM. Let me know how I can help you, what kind of fitting or resources. If you're looking for private one-on-one coaching, I also am available for that. You can shoot me if you don't want something so in a community setting, but you'd rather have something one-on-one, shoot me a message about that and we can talk details about that too. I have been a life and business coach since 2017, serving thousands of women across the world. And I'm here to help you too. I'm here to support you. Thanks, Scott. I hope you have a great day. I will see you all tomorrow at the same time, and we'll get on with what happened once we arrived here in 2016 to current day, what I've done, how I planned it, what I implemented, what resources and things I did to get where I am today, and how I can help you. Until then, I love you all. I hope you have a great rest of your day.